Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Beyond Max Q. I'm your host, Mollie Jahner, and I am joined today by Ben Marquart, who is the CTO and co-founder of Pawnee Mobility. Very, very cool. You can see the cars in the background, maybe a hint at what they're building a bit, but I
That's
will let
true.
him intro himself and talk a little bit about what Pawnee Mobility is doing.
Yeah, thanks, Molly. Appreciate it. Yeah, and I'll start with I'm a fully admitted car guy. It is in my blood, whether I like it or not. I grew up around cars. Cars are my hobby, my passion, my career. So I'm one of those people. I will say I'm very fortunate that the thing that I'm very, very passionate about also gets to be the thing that I do for my career. So fortunate in that regard. But yeah, so Pawnee Mobility, right? So we're an early phase startup. So yeah, I'm the CTO, chief engineer, and one of the co-founders. There's three of us. And what we do with Pawnee is we are really focused around stealth tactical technologies. So we basically have two parts of the business, which is a extended range propulsion system. So basically parts of or an entire electrified, basically range extended electric drive propulsion system, and then a vehicle of which we demonstrate that in, which is really a low volume niche special forces focused type of a vehicle that really aims to supply and really fill the gap of stealth and silent mobility and stealth watch capabilities, right? So 30 or so miles of electric range, anywhere from 48 to 72-ish hours of silent watch capability, kind of depending on the mission profile and how many batteries you decide to bring with you. But also depending on fuel capacity carrying is really up to 500 or so miles of range. And so when we really started the company, it was really about our backgrounds filling that niche, speaking with special forces operators, saying these are the things that we need. We need something that is super capable, both in off-road terrain, because even I worked at AM General back in the day, and is unbelievable as a Humvee is. It's actually not as terrain capable as you might think, but it really comes to like mountainous rock climbing type terrain. And so the vehicle, really, the concept came from King of the Hammers Ultra 4 type vehicles, Baja Racing. That's kind of the derivation of the vehicle platform. Super robust, well proven out designs and technologies in that. Nothing super complicated.
Mhm.
And then extended range electric drive propulsion technology. So we're at that point where we can adopt it in. We've really proven out over the last 15 years.
Well, I love that. And what are your commercial aspirations? Because you talked about special forces, but how does that what does that look like in the market where maybe someone like myself could purchase it?
Yeah, and I'll
Maybe
say,
not. Maybe it's outside my price range, but like someone like me.
yeah, well, and it's interesting because when we were first kind of going down this road, it really started with the military need and kind of filling that gap. And when the three of us, Bill, Dean, and I, sat down and said, we think we've got something here, it really fit our skill sets. And then as we, we're all in South Texas right now, although we are moving Pawnee to Jacksonville, Florida. But when we really kind of talked about other applications, we looking at that commercial application for the was it dual use now is really a huge part of getting government contracts. So we said, okay, what could that be? So one of them was kind of ranching is a big part of it. A lot of guys around here that go into ranches, we hear about, man, it'd be really great if I could have a plug-in hybrid truck or something like a big side by side, because I've got 5 mufflers on my old F-150 to try to keep it as quiet as possible on the ranch, so I don't have to walk as far, right? To then, get to the spot where you're going to start kind of hunting. So there's that. We also see a motorsport application. There is a big performance advantage to having this type of a propulsion system. So, King of the Hammers and Score could be one of those. I think California is probably eventually going to really crack down on Baja racing. It's kind of look at the past of what California does. I'm kind of surprised they haven't done it quite yet. But then, I think you and I have spoken about as well, on a state level, whether it be something like FEMA or forestry or Department of Homeland Security for Border Patrol. There's really a lot of opportunity because it is also what we can provide with this vehicle is offboard power generation. So it's really a rolling generator as well. So
Yes.
that provides, that kind of, you know, areas that are super hard to get to because of some disaster situation, this vehicle has a better chance of getting to. Not that it can get through everything and anything, but it has a better chance. And so we do see a lot of that commercial application. And frankly, this thing, the performance of the vehicle will be pretty spectacular regardless. I'll actually dial it down for a defense application.
Okay.
So it should be a lot of fun too.
I love that. Well, and talk a little bit more about the battery. The solar charger piece or the fact that you can use it as a charger, right? I think that's important. It might not be solar charging, so I misspoke there, but using it as a generator, because I love that idea.
Yeah, and so that was other part of it. When I worked at AM General, it's got to be 15 years ago now. We were working on the early phases of JLTV, and I will say that was really for me an interesting turning point when I really recognized that the electrification, what the advantages were, other than it's just an electric drive, right? The onboard, offboard power capability, what you can do with that power. Right. So currently, JLTVs are still a relatively new vehicle into the U.S. military fleet. I think it's only 10 kilowatts that they have of onboard slash offboard power capability, which really isn't a whole lot. And so we're looking at, north of 150, 180 plus kilowatts of power capability, right? This is because it supports the drive system, right? And so if you're not moving, you can offboard that power and use it as basically a rolling generator, right? And so the technologies that we use are actually much smaller than traditional generators that they have now. And so that capability, supports many things, especially in defense, such as directed energy weapons, right? Which is
Yes.
something that we didn't really think about until we started speaking with people, and they said, "Wait, hang on, we got a pretty this could fill a problem that we have. We have a void here." Like, oh, okay, that's great. And so that's definitely another part of it as well, is just that mobile power generation. Which again, these many applications, the more people we speak to, the more we see.
Yes, yeah, no, and that piqued my interest for sure. It definitely was a standout, made you very different from all the others that are maybe competing in the space, having something like that. I would love to talk about what it's like being a founder, and you have three, so there's three of you. So I'd love to talk about what that dynamic looks like. How did you find each other? How does the team work together? What does that look like?
Yeah. So it is, I've been working for startups for a while. And so this is my first where I'm one of the founders. I've been, I'd say, close, basically acting kind of like a co-founder in the past, but this is the first time it's really like, okay, we're doing this. Let's put a name to it and agree on paper that we have a real company that's entirely ours. So
We're adulting.
yeah, that's really what it feels like, honestly. It's it's
Nice.
it's kind of like that. So there's three of us. William Fraser is kind of the technical co-founder. Bill and I have known each other for 20 years now. We've worked with each other off and on. We actually have, I think, one of the greatest things about Bill and I is we have extremely complementary skill sets. So we actually met each other through this. We went to the same school, but Bill's a little bit older than I am, and I am more of the technical, in the weeds, kind of got to keep me in the rails kind of a guy. And Bill is a phenomenal operations person and keeping people like me in the rails, right? Even to a point where, Bill is always when we do Sibber sitters, is like, we're going to submit 2 days in advance. I'm like, okay, cool. Then just
Yes.
lie to me. Then you need to tell
Yep.
me that it's due 2 days before that. And I'm
I
like,
need to meet Bill. I love that because that's exactly right. Because the website could go down, things can happen, and it's like we need to get it in.
in fact, it was, I think it was in the spring, we did maybe it was the fall. I think we did an Army phase 1. And it was, I thought it was due like the month we were in. I'm like, okay, next week I'm gonna have all this stuff done. And he's like, oh, what are you talking about? You got till next month. I was like, what are you doing?
Does Bill do hourly work to help other people with operations? Like, how do I get
He,
Bill to help me
for
with
sure,
all the
absolutely. I can pass along Bill's information. He is a fantastic person in that regard. And
Great.
it's a very respectful thing. I understand what Bill needs. Bill understands what I need. We work really, really, really well together. And so I'm fortunate to have that kind of relationship, because I think a big part of, and I've heard with some of the other guests you've had, is you have to like your co-founders.
Yes.
And not even, yeah, I would say, obviously it starts with your co-founders, the early people in, and even just the first people you hire have to really understand what you're doing. Everyone needs to kind of understand the role. Are Are we all going all in on this? Are we going to slow roll it? Kind of what are we doing? But you're going to be spending a lot of time together, and
Hmm.
you need to have people, I think, that one, you have a lot of respect for. That's number one. And you have to very much like spending time with them, right? You have to not mind, we're going to order food and work through lunch. And you know what, we're not done. Let's just order some food and stay at the office or wherever we're working together and just keep getting it done because we really shouldn't stop. We got a good thing going here, right? So that's a big part of it, right? Competence, I think, is a given. But then our third guy, Dean Hull, he is more of our finance side of things, right? And so Dean, I think, is a very unique finance person, and maybe this is just the experiences that I've had. Me usually running engineering, I'm the one spending the money, right? In the
Right.
development and all of that. And so naturally, finance is kind of the antithesis of that, right? Do
Yes.
you
The
really
first
need to?
strings.
Yeah, yeah, right. And I think I've learned over the years, you know, in defense, there's always, actually just in government budgets, you have use it or lose it, right? So everyone wants to just spend all of the money that they're allocated. And I get why that's a thing. I think that it's very wasteful because then everyone just blows all the money that they have to make sure they keep getting that budget, even though they may not need it.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, hey, you know what, this year or this quarter, we didn't need 25% of our budget. Let's just roll it over. We'll just use it next quarter or next year. But that's not how it works, which is unfortunate. But Dean and I have a very good respect where when Dean tells Bill and I, look, this is where we need to be,
Hmm.
he's not just kind of, oh, it's actually with a 15% but buffer there. Like, no, this is where we have to be, period.
Yeah.
Right. And when we say to Dean, look, I can't do that for X amount. It has to,
Hmm.
like, I'm not trying to fluff this, man. Like, this is what
Yeah.
we really need. And if I can get it for less, that's great. But I also don't want to come back to you and tell you I was 20% under just to get
Right.
you to agree. Right. So we have a really great dynamic with trust, with
Hmm.
respect of each other's expertise and kind of their area and their wheelhouse. And then also making sure that we're doing what we need to do to support the other one. So we have a great dynamic. I feel very, very fortunate in that regard. I think that's extremely important to be on the same page,
Yes.
really understand, and not be afraid to also to get into it with each other as well.
Well,
Respect.
and that's important too because that there's going to be more stress and strain than anything in a startup. And so, the failures and the successes. And so if you can't do failures well with people, it's going to be really tough to walk into success, I think.
For sure, right? Because we all met at a previous company that the three of us together met at a previous company we worked together for. And it didn't work out the way that we really were hoping it was. So we went through some adversity together
Yes.
already. And then, I think this is many people that are in early stage startups doing sitter sibbers. The
Hmm.
spring round was pretty ugly from what
Yeah.
we understand. So we were really banking on getting one or two of those phase twos, and we didn't get anything. We know a lot of people didn't get anything, and it was really hard. Like that was one of those points where we're kind of like, uh, shit. Now what do we do? Right? We were really during fundraising, we were leaning into that at least one of those phase two wins, and when that didn't come, it's okay. What are we going to do now? Right? And really having that, and also I think being able to navigate each other's emotions. Right? Like we're all humans,
Hmm.
and there are some times where one of us will it impacts everybody differently. Right? Everything impacts everybody differently. We all have different situations, and so being able to also recognize that one of your partners or team members is really struggling in that moment for whether it is something business related or maybe it's outside of work, right, or of the project, to kind of be able to recognize that it's like, okay, we're going to step in and we're going to help Ben out here, right? We're going to take some stuff off his plate without even telling him, right? And kind of encourage kind of that emotional recovery. Uh,
Yes. Well, what did you guys do? I'm interested. So, how did you pivot? Because I mean, there was a lot of folks in the spring who
mhm.
had to do the same thing. So, I'd love to hear how you guys kind of bounced back or how you reacted to that without getting into any details, of course, that you don't want to share. Proprietary.
Yeah. So, for us, we've been bootstrapping this. That's really been the big thing for us. And, we're still quite early. We've had so much positive feedback. I mean, like exclusively positive feedback with what we're trying to do, which is very encouraging. But then obviously not getting some of those contracts is very discouraging. And so the pivot for us was really, I don't want to say necessarily a pivot, but more of a continued evolution of the direction of what we're doing and in kind of what we saw as the key components of the business.
Hmm.
So we looked at it and said, everyone, including some angel groups that we were speaking to that we ended up not moving
Hmm.
forward with, was that they really, really liked the electric drive
Hmm.
propulsion concept and that architecture. And so we kind of said to ourselves, this makes sense, right? Like that's more of a hot topic, although, electric vehicles and aren't really a very sexy thing to invest in right now. And so we haven't really been saying, oh, we're an electric vehicle. We've kind of saying we're a stealth vehicle, right? Stealth capable vehicle. But so for us, we then started submitting more focused on the propulsion and the electric capability of what that propulsion system offers, making that the focus and saying we're going to demonstrate it in a vehicle we're going to build
Hmm.
that also fills a bunch of these needs as well. But really what we're talking about here is this extended range on and off board power generation capable system. We're
Right.
just going to show it to you in this vehicle, but it can also go in others. And so that was kind of a way that we were able to repackage, if you
Hmm.
will, right? In a different way that maybe is a little bit more attractive, that isn't, wheeled ground vehicles is it's kind of a forgotten part. Other than JLTV, there's not a lot of really investment in that right now. But at the end of the day, especially special forces, they're
Hmm.
always going to get there on the ground. It's
Right.
that's not stopping anytime soon, right? Yes, we have drones and better drones and more capable, no doubt, right? And
Hmm.
that's going to reduce the burden on some of these vehicles, but it also then creates a larger need for more specialized vehicles,
Right.
right? And so, also convincing people or communicating via a technical volume that this ground vehicle is important, even though everyone's focused on spending money on drones, has been a bit of a challenge. So again, kind of focusing that
Hmm.
on, we're talking about power generation, and looking at the critical technology areas that the DoD has said they're focusing on, and how many of those can we check, right? We
Hmm.
can support directed energy weapons. We can support autonomy. We can support logistics burden cost reduction, right? With being hybrid, right? And so
Hmm.
these are the types of things that we've kind of repackaged and kind of reapproached with. So we're still waiting to hear back on the summer, which should be any moment now.
Yes. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yay! Well, I'm rooting for you guys. And it's funny you say that. It's almost like you're the Leatherman or the Swiss Army knife of vehicles, right? You can do this, you need this function, you can do this function, and thinking about all the cool things that you guys can do with it. Just cognizant of time, I would love for you to talk about a little bit about what bootstrapping looks like to you, and if other founders are bootstrapping, what would you say to them? How to encourage them to keep going?
So if you're thinking about bootstrapping, it will cost you more and take you longer than you think. FYI, which is, kind of like program planning, 101, right? It always takes more and costs more than you think it's going to, right? But also, it really, man, you better be passionate about what you're doing. Because if you're not passionate about it, then you're not going to bootstrap it flat out,
Hmm.
because you're not going to want to give up those sacrifices that are required to bootstrap a company, right? Your time, other income opportunities, right? When you're pouring everything into your own thing, and someone says, "Hey, there's this cool opportunity," it's like, that would have been awesome before I started this. So keeping your eye on the prize is definitely part of it. And it's tough. I mean, I'm not going to say it's the most fun thing in the world. The losses, not getting contracts hurt a lot more, because you can't just, oh, we'll go back to our investors and maybe ask for a little bit more money,
Right.
or maybe we'll just delay this one thing. We can keep things moving. Like it's you, it's on you.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot more responsibility that I think you feel with it. But again, if you have the passion to move it forward, it's one of those where you can be successful as long as I think you're listening to, you're taking input on the things you're hearing around you,
Hmm.
and not just keeping the blinders too much on. Like where we started and where we are now is it's the same thread. The concept's the same, but it's very, very different because of all the input that we've received and kind of taken balance of and saying, okay, we've heard this thing a lot. We should pivot, not pivot, but maybe we evolve our concept a bit to follow that rather than kind of maybe we originally thought, and kind
Yeah.
of being adaptable, but staying on
Product
vision.
market fit. I mean, what you're describing is product market fit. It's how you find it. It's not just like a one time you throw it over the fence and you're like, oh, I guess nobody liked it. It's like, no, we're iterating, we're changing, we're talking to people.
Mhm.
And there's no AI in the world that can automate that. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know that that's going to change. Like, you have to talk to people and you can't get
Yeah.
around it.
Yeah, for sure. And we really do, right? I mean, I think we're well into the hundreds probably of people we've spoken to, and every conversation, with few exceptions, is valuable. To especially when we're talking to operators, whether it's
Yes.
currently guys that are currently in or recently retired, whether they are actual special forces operators, they're telling us like there's some stuff we can't tell you why we want this exact thing, but there are mission profiles that we really need this for. Just trust us. Like, oh, okay. To people that are in, the purchasing side of things, right?
Mhm.
Here's the things that we need to see from your
Yeah.
business for us to be able to give you money as well. But yeah, it's a bit of a wild ride. But it's good if you're with the right people and something you're
Yeah.
passionate about, then it's definitely something that can be successful.
Well, what does the next year look like for you guys?
So for us, we're definitely at that point where, again, kind of like in the spring, this summer round of Sitter Super contracts, we've submitted open topics with the Air Force, with AFWorks, and we're actually doing a phase one that's due, I think, in a week or two, that
Okay.
will submit well for
It's
some.
actually 3 weeks, but Bill said it was
That's
actually
right.
this week.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
No, Molly, don't ruin it.
I know, I know.
We're going to submit for one of those, and for us, we're definitely in that that fundraise mode. We're looking for the right partners. I think I forgot her name. You had a guest next last few weeks, and she was part of the VC. She had her own VC fund.
Annika Lammers,
Yes.
maybe? Yes, from the Borsky Fund. She's fantastic.
Yes, and she said like partnering with the right people. So for us, we've spoken with people with money. Maybe at the end of all this, we'll look back and say maybe some of the things we chose not to do or to do were maybe not the right decision, but live and learn. That's kind of how this whole thing
Yes, yeah,
kind of flows. But we're actively looking for the right people to work with to be a part of what we're doing and our growth, right? So for us, that's a big part of it. I mean, frankly, at this point, I got enough gray, kind of can't quite see it in the hair as much, but I've got enough gray where I'm not going to work with people,
yeah.
with the wrong people, just for their money. I just won't do it. It's not worth it for me anymore. It just
Yell
simply is
that louder. For all the founders, it is not worth it. It is not worth it.
not
A
worth it.
check does not, it's not worth it.
No, I mean, unless you're willing to walk away from your thing.
Yeah.
That's
That's a perfect way to put it because it's true, right? You have to, it's no different than choosing a co-founder because really the right funder is going to partner with you on how to build what you're doing, not just like, here's a check, good luck, and then they check in every couple weeks to find out what their return is. That's
right.
not a partnership.
And that can be okay, right? Especially if you're doing something wild and new and they're just writing a check because they believe in you. That's okay. I'm okay with that. I don't want it. It's not my preference, but I think that making sure you don't get in bed with the wrong money. I think there's a lot of times where you get into a desperation point, especially when you're bootstrapping. I
Yep.
know, where you're almost willing to take money from anything, anywhere, anyhow, anyway, and then you kind of have to have this check to like, no, this I can't sign. I cannot do this. I can't do this. I can't give away this much. I can't risk other things or other people or whatever it might be. It's like, vision control is very important for us, right?
I like how you say that, vision control. That's really good.
Yeah, because it's not for like I think one of the things I'll give a bit of advice here is like, what are you really in it for? It's not so much about equity ownership as far as financial equity ownership, right? Like we'll be fine. Like we'll be fine, right? That's not what I'm worried about. I'm not trying to become a billionaire. I'm trying to do something that I'm very passionate about that
Yes.
fills a need, right, in the world somehow, some way.
Mhm.
So it's more about the vision control. I'd be willing to give up more financial equity if I can hold on to more vision and control equity, if that makes any sense,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. No, I love how you delineate those two things because I think they're really important.
Yeah, and you can do that. That's the thing you can do, right? Like you can give up more equity, but then say we get 2 or 3 to 1 board seat votes.
Mhm.
right, than this funder does, right, the check writer. So there are ways to go around ensuring that the thing that's most important to you is something that you continue to kind of have the driver's seat in. So
Yeah, no, and I love how you say driver's seat because your vehicle, so that's good.
yep.
It's all the puns, they're circular. I think, kind of as we start to wrap, I want to end with, is there anything you haven't talked about yet that you feel like would be relevant for funders or founders in the community? Because we do have some VCs who are in, the community in the space. And so I know you said, hey, we're bootstrapping, but also like, hey, we're ready to partner with the right person. So just anything you want to say as we kind of close out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're definitely in a funding mode, where we've been doing this since ours for a long time. We're not asking for tens of millions of dollars. We're really trying to come in at it slow and
Mhm.
steady wins the race, we think. And
Yep.
so definitely the right types of partners that understand and can complement what we have, right?
Hmm.
We have a lot of technical understood and operations understood and finance operations, and that's what we're great at, right? But that's not a whole business. So we're looking for kind of those right types of partners and I think there's lots of VCs and funds and high net worth individuals or angel networks that understand that oftentimes it's the ideas person that are looking for money and that they need a lot of that other structure to a business, right? And whatever that might be for each one. But yeah, I mean, we're actively fundraising, while we're working on the non-dilutive equity through Sitter Sibbers in contracts and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, we're just excited to keep moving it forward and hopefully get some of these contracts. And if anybody wants to reach out because they think we're doing something great,
Yes,
we're all ears. Feel free to reach out, no problem.
I love it.
We love having conversations, even if it doesn't go anywhere, right? It's always good to hear and listen and whatnot. But uh,
Yes. Well, no, and I want to end with what you're currently reading because I know you did research on it. So, and
yes.
you're prepared for this question.
I am. So, I actually just finished up two, so I haven't started anything new. I'm kind of deciding in what I want to start next. I do have a couple of 15-hour drives coming up, so I've got plenty of time to
Okay.
listen or read to books. But just like another guest you had, I did just finish How to Be Disliked. I just finished that book, and then the follow-up book, which is How to Be Happy.
Well, I haven't read that one. I read How to Be Disliked, which
Yeah,
was fantastic.
was it The Courage to Be Disliked and The Courage to Be Happy? So The Courage to Be Happy is just a follow on to it. It's the exact
Okay.
same thread. It's the same author. It's the whole
Okay.
kind of deal. And I think the woman who brought that one up, it is a good book because you gotta be okay with being disliked if you're a founder. That is for sure, whether it's warranted or not.
I
So
think just in today's world, you have the courage to be disliked. You're not gonna like I mean, we're just divided. It's just the way that it is. It's gonna be tough to win friends,
yeah,
I
and
think.
you shouldn't want to be liked by everybody, right? At the end of the day, and so, but I will also there are two other books that I really like that I recommend to everybody. One is as a car person, so if you're a car person, it's How to Build a Car by Adrian Newey, who's the greatest Formula One car designer of all
Okay.
time. It is an awesome story. And then almost anything by the author Matt Ridley. My two favorite Matt Ridley books are How Innovation Works and The Evolution of Everything, which
Ooh.
they're really interesting about kind of it's looking at like just the evolution of things like tools and different societies going
Yeah.
back thousands of years. Like how did people that lived by water who figured out how to make fishing hooks out of bones work with people that got stone tools from quarries that were
Mhm.
500 miles away, and that's how trade started, and kind of the innovation of those things. And really, really, really interesting. You can see it tied to a lot of things even in modern time. It's really quite interesting. So
Very cool. Is the one that where the Formula One racer wrote it? Is it like kid friendly? Could I read that to my son? He's like 6.5. Not
um
because he loves cars.
maybe I there would be
Yeah,
some points, there'd be a couple of parts where I would say maybe you'd skip that chapter.
got it. Totally.
There, but I think it's definitely technical. The book actually has a bunch of Adrian Newey, so he's the engineer. He's by far the most successful. So there's lots of really fun sketches
That's
in the
cool.
book of
Love
him
that.
literally because he still does it today. He's like 65 years old and he refuses to use a computer. Refuses. So he designs by hand on his board, and then he hands that
That
to
is so cool.
drafters. It's just, yeah, it's a whole thing.
That's amazing. Okay, I'm definitely checking that one out. I will link to all the things in the description like we usually do. And please, if you want to reach out to Ben, please do it. He's building something very cool with his team and just a genuine person, which, is really nice to find. So please reach out to him if you have questions or you want to connect or you want to partner in some way. So thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Molly. Pleasure as always.